Oh, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Girls Dads podcast. And I'm very excited to be chatting with my guest today, Amanda. We actually know each other for a few years. We used to work together at Math Pro. Right now, Amanda is an electrical engineer working at the Tetranex Solutions company. And yeah, I would love to catch up with her today and want to know a little bit more about what she's been doing for the last few years. We'll be discussing about her career journey and even going back a few more years and talking about her post-secondary journey as well. Welcome, Amanda. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sounds like you
I
were
just
going
wanted
to make
to
an introduction. Yeah.
oh say that even though I got a BSc in electrical engineering, my role at Tetranex is a controls and automation engineer. We have a different department, like an electrical department, and then we also have the controls department. So I feel like being introduced as an electrical engineer at Tetranex might be a little inaccurate because
Got it.
I actually tried it. Yeah. So I was in the controls department
Okay,
when I first started there. Yeah.
thanks for the clarification. And actually, that
Yeah.
will lead to another topic of our discussion because I know nothing, okay, about engineering. And of course, there are so many fields and domains within engineering. I don't know if you'll be able to share some of your knowledge and experience with other domains as well. Okay, to start, perhaps you can share with us, Amanda, what you are currently working on as intermediate controls engineer at your company, and of course the job description, right? Your responsibilities and tasks.
Okay. So I just finished like a bigger project. Our so Tetranex is a EPC, so we do engineering procurement, which is like purchasing equipment. Um, Actually, we're just an EP. Usually the C stands for construction, but we don't do any construction. Um, So we get contracted out by larger companies that own assets. Synovus owns some oil and gas plants. Recently, we were contracted out, like my project was working for Cavendish Farms. So I don't work for Cavendish Farms, but they hired Tetranex to do the automation at their potato processing facility down in Lethbridge. We're expanding their raw receiving area, which means that they're adding like 4 to 6 more truck bays to accept all of these potatoes from the farmers so that they can get processed down later. And what I helped do is to automate all of the motors and the conveyors and the process of guiding those potatoes from the back of the truck into these ginormous like storage bins. Yeah, but in the meantime, they have to get cleaned and sorted. And so there's a lot of different equipment from point A, the trucks, to point B, the bins. And yeah, Tetranex just helped automate that.
That's cool. So it's not just an energy resource company. They do
That's right.
agriculture, farming, sounds like
hmm
a lot of those as
hmm
well.
That needs automation, honestly.
Okay. So yeah, I guess it's not much different from, within the context of energy and oil and gas. There will be pipelines to transport resources from point A to point B. In agriculture, you still have products that needs to go from point A to point B. So it sounds like a lot of logistics involved.
There's a lot of IO inputs and outputs. That's
Okay.
basically like controls engineering, I think, in a box where we get all these inputs like sensors, like position sensor
Okay.
of a conveyor, and then the output would be like moving the conveyor to a certain spot or like starting the conveyor is or moving a valve just so that the process can work seamlessly and automatically without having as much operator intervention.
Okay. So of course I can only imagine that there are many parts involved, right, within this conveyor, or again, just a system that moves things from point A to point B. There are many different parts that are put together to make this work, right? For this specific project that you're working on, what are your main responsibilities? Were you the one who, I don't know, who specialized in finding the right sensor or actually customizing a certain sensor to work? Or were you working on more of the design of the system, how to maximize the effectiveness of the system?
So my role was, so it was already designed, and my role is to program everything as per the design.
Got it.
So I, yeah, my role is to make the computer that controls all of the equipment actually, like, to put the program in there. And
Got it. Okay.
yeah,
So, Amanda, would you say your role, at least again within the context of this specific project, is more or less of a software engineer?
there's parts of that. The programming is, it's in a language, it's like a ladder logic language. It's not like C++ plus plus or JavaScript or Python or anything like that. It's actually more simpler. Like most
Okay.
of it is just Boolean logic. There's not a lot of like loops or
Got it.
objects and stuff like that.
Okay. And it could be maybe a proprietary language as well, very specific to the system you're working on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
Uh,
So you, of course, when you started this project, you had to learn this language.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't learn that in school at all.
Yeah.
It was all on the job.
Okay. Yeah. Was that difficult? Again, because from your education, it was, I'm sure there could have been one or two coding courses that you had taken, right, in
Mhm.
university. But outside of that, you did not graduate as a software engineer. So programming may not be something that you were used to or one of your stronger suits. But now that you got into this position and you got this project and you're like, hey, Amanda, learn this. Yeah. You have to start coding in about a week, right? Was that scary, and was that difficult learning curve for you as well?
I think the most like difficult part of it, like the actual coding itself isn't that difficult. Like the concept of it is quite simple. It's either going to be one or zero, right?
Hmm.
On or off. But what's what I think what differentiates like an experienced programmer versus not is how effective you can make it and what are like the best practices of coding. And you just learn those things on the job. My first year when I started at Tetranex as an intern, there's just a lot of mistakes that I made, or like things where once my manager saw my coding, he was like, "Oh, it's good practice not to put two outputs of the same tag in the program. Like you only want one line that it will trigger that one output. Otherwise, it gets really hard to follow."
Because yeah, just like any other positions, even though you work individually most times of the day, you're still working within a team environment, right? You're still working with other team members, and very often your work is being shared with other team members, and multiple people might be working on the same thing. Other people will be able to look into your code, your work, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for maintenance to come back and look at your code because sometimes over time they want to tweak some things in the process, but we're not there at that time. They have like their own people, local people, maintenance people to go into the program and tweak things. So you want to make it like as easy and simple for people in the future to come look at it.
Yes, and sometimes it could be team specific, sometimes it could be company specific, right? A lot of these unwritten rules, they're very subjective, right? In university, as a computer science student, you would definitely learn about some of the basics, some of the industry standards, so to speak, right? Just the example that you just gave out. The inputs and outputs should be written on different lines so it's easier to navigate, easier to read, stuff like that, right? But very often there are other additional rules put on by perhaps the like within the company, right? Within the team or by the architect. Yeah, those are some of the things that you don't get to learn at school. You learn on the job.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Different
So,
companies have
yeah.
different specs and standards and specific things like on how they want things
Oh, yeah.
shown or done. Yeah. That you obviously don't learn that in school.
No. And perhaps a lot of stuff that you learned in school, you find that, hey, it's not really applicable to my current job. I still think the post-secondary education is beneficial. You get to learn how to learn in a way. And
Yeah.
yep, time management, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
How to operate under immense stress. But even with that
You did.
said, yeah, deadlines, but stress in school is not comparable to stress in a work environment. That's my perspective. But yeah, you get to see a rudimentary level of that. Yeah, prepare you for the real world. Definitely. Okay. Now, Amanda, can you tell me a little bit about perhaps, your daily routine, right? What do you do as a control engineer on average on a daily basis? Of course, you got projects to work on, but what other activities or responsibilities you have within your role within this company?
So it's kind of project by project at Tetranex. The example I gave earlier with Cavendish, that was like an integration, a configuration side of the project. So all the engineering is done already. And then now we're integrating and we're programming it. And there's an HMI, a human interface too, that you
Yep.
like design and make sure that the operators can actually like work on the plant. And then for that project, I went to site and I commissioned it. So you go there and you make sure that, so in the office, everything works. You test it with the client and that everything works, but you have to go actually to site and make sure that it actually works on all of the equipment.
Oh, okay.
That's like the after the engineering is done. But sometimes there's projects that are engineering based that I get, and there's a lot of drawings and documentation involved. And then as an engineer, you have to know because things are going to get implemented based on those drawings and documents. So you have to make sure that those are correct and that they're safe.
And are in
Yeah.
compliance as well, right? Whatever you guys
And
are
are in
doing.
compliance. Yeah. With all the clients' specs and standards
And government regulations, all that.
and government regulations. Yeah. So if it's an engineering based project, then as a controls engineer, I work on two main documents. The shutdown key is one of them, and the control narrative is another one. So the control narrative is basically like a written up version of how things are going to work or how things work in the plant, right? Because someone can open up the code and the logic and the HMI and they see all this equipment, but like, how does it work? And they have to go
Okay.
to the control narrative and read on this section, and it'll tell you like the purpose of this equipment,
Right.
what it does, how it fits into the overall high level process of it. And then it also will like dig deeper into one control loop and what are the inputs for that control loop and which piece of equipment is controlling. So as a controls engineer, you got to just make sure that all of that is like accurately written out and that it matches like the drawings, like the process and instrumentation diagrams or piping, sorry, the P&IDs, which have all the equipment and show it's like kind of the Bible of the engineering documents. So You have
Okay.
to make sure that your narrative is in line with the key and IDs. And then the shutdown key is basically like your matrix of what shuts down what in like process conditions. For example, like a high level in a tank might close the valve that's feeding it. So it's just, and then, yeah, it's it's a very important document. And it's also like another version would be like safety. If there's like fire detected, you're gonna shut down the exhaust fan because you don't want to add more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, it sounds like there are a lot of user manuals that you have to read. And not just read, you have to understand every aspect of it. There's a purpose to every line, every action that the document
Hmm.
describes, and sounds like what you were doing is very specific, yet you need to have that full, complete picture of the system and what it does and how each of the intricate parts work together.
And there's a lot of like collaboration with different disciplines of engineering
Sounds like
because
it.
you can't just know all that yourself. Like the process engineers will definitely put their input into the control narrative because that's their specialty of knowing
Right.
exactly why they put this valve there.
And possibly a lot of collaboration with perhaps the compliance department or the lawyers even within the company to a certain extent. Yeah, they have to let you know, oh, yeah, we cannot do this because the government says this, right?
I hadn't into that yet,
Hey,
but
perhaps
maybe
those
one
problems
day.
are being handled by other people. So just be
Mm,
gladful that you don't have to deal with it at the moment.
yeah, definitely.
Amanda, when I went to your LinkedIn, of course, I have to do a little bit of background research on my guest. Of course, your latest title is Intermediate Controls Engineer, bracket EIT. So,
Hmm.
engineer in training. Is that still the latest and most updated status?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, I am working towards my PNG,
Okay.
but application and there's 22 competencies and you have to write like a mini essay for each one. And they look for just like you have to only use one example or experience for each. Well,
Yeah,
I don't know a lot.
I can only imagine. Yeah, for a lot of the younger audiences, yeah, EIT is, yeah, again, it stands for Engineer in Training. Amanda, would you say that is the general path for an engineering student graduate once they got into the industry? That is the next step they're working towards.
Yeah. So once you graduate from the university, you are an EIT. And then after 4 years of experience, you can go towards your PNG. And then that means you get your stamp and you can actually like validate drawings or you will take responsibility, sorry, for those drawings. I don't think it's applicable for every discipline. Like, I think a lot of software engineers, there's no, like, you don't really use a stamp to stamp a drawing.
Correct.
So yeah, so I think some software engineers, they might not be wanting to get their PEng, but if you are like an electrical engineer, if you're going to basically be doing any drawing stamping, you're going to want to get your PEng. And there's a
And
limited time to
oh, is
like a
there?
window. Yeah, I think after 8 years of experience, your EIT like expires, but then you can't really call yourself an engineer in training anymore, and you might be like a technologist instead.
Got it. Okay. So are there more courses you have to take when you're in EIT, exams?
Yeah, so to get your PEng, you have to do the application, and then once you submit all those 22 competencies, you have to do the ethics exam, and I think that's it.
Okay.
But I know it takes a PEGA, like the regulating body of
Right.
Alberta. I know it takes them probably around 6 to 9 months to even review your application.
Mhm.
And then I've heard about 50-50. Sometimes they'll like not accept certain ones and ask you to rewrite some of them, and then you have to resubmit and then wait another few months.
My
So it's a
goodness.
process.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's a long journey. Wow. Okay. But
And
that
you have
is,
to each time as well.
wow. Okay. But that is, I would say, the ultimate goal for most of the engineers out there is to become a PEng, and that I can imagine would open up a lot more opportunities in terms of career development. Is that correct?
I think so. I think employers look for PN as like a marker of experience too,
And potency, yeah.
and competency. Yeah. Although
Oh,
it doesn't always reflect that way. There's some PNs who might not be as competent. There could be some EITs who are more competent,
oh yeah.
vice
Yeah.
versa.
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. In all sectors and industries and disciplines, yes. Yeah. It's sometimes the title is or the destination is important, but it's not a true reflection of how capable that person is. Now, allow me to take you back. Okay, let's hop into a time machine and go back to, what was it, 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe? When you first started in the engineering department at University of Calgary. And we'll go further back even
Okay.
in a little bit, but let's just focus on those 4 years. So you got into the engineering program. The first year is general, right? So at that point, you don't get to choose your field of specialty yet. Okay, so there's
Mhm.
electrical, mechanical, civil, software, yada, yada, yada. So in year one, did you have any clue that you would be going into electrical?
It did. Yeah, I had a very clear intention of working with renewable energy. And so to me, that was like generating electricity, and electrical engineers are required for that. So yeah, I knew from year one that I wanted to go into electrical.
Okay, okay. Actually, there is a new program. I don't know if it existed when you were in school, but it's, yeah, specifically on renewable energy, actually. Yeah,
Is
it's
like energy and environment?
it was actually quite specific. And actually, let me just search this up. Hold on, because one of my Math Pro staff, I had actually put him on to my podcast as well. His name is Riley, and for the audiences, if you want to check out that video, I'll put a link into this description as well. So he's a
Was it Riley
sustainable,
Chan? Oh,
no,
no, sorry.
Riley Damon,
Oh, okay.
sustainable systems engineering, and he's doing a double degree with business as well. Yeah, so I think that's a relatively new program, and perhaps it did not exist when you were in school, eh?
When I went to school, there was a specialization in energy and environment. I
Hmm.
did go, I think I did go for that for like a year. And then I realized because engineering was my second degree, so I was already like years thick into this post secondary. And I think I saw how many more courses and time it would require me. And I was like, I could probably still get a job without the specialization. So then I dropped it. If I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah,
Smart
because
choice.
engineering already in itself is, I think, more than a full course load every semester. Like some of them you have to take 6 or 7
6 courses,
if you want
yeah.
to finish in 4 years. Yeah, so it's just a lot.
It's arduous. It's not easy. It's not easy. So I have mad respect for you, Amanda, especially what
Oh,
you had gone through in your first
thank you.
degree already. And then as I was telling you before I started the recording, I had the same journey. I did two undergrads at U of C as well. So I know to a certain point, oh, I just want to I just want to finish, get it done.
Yeah. Just let me get a job that pays
Yeah,
decent.
exactly.
I need to move forward and be an adult.
Yep, yep. I know how that feels. I know how that feels. Was it everything that you expected within those 3 or 4 years in engineering?
In engineering school, oh my God, I did not know what to expect, honestly. I think one of the things I didn't expect was like how much you like need your peer group, which is great because I think in real life with engineering, like you also need, there's a lot of teamwork. So I don't think I could have done it without my like little core group of friends in engineering. Like you need to help each other stay on top of all the assignments and quizzes. And yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, have you worked on this assignment?" It's like, "Oh my God, I totally forgot about that. Is there anything, which chapters I should read and which ones I shouldn't?" Yeah, that part was, I guess, one thing that I got out of engineering school.
And all the late
And that,
nighters you guys pulled together,
yeah,
right? Whether on campus or in somebody else's basement or at Tim Hortons.
yeah. Yeah. Lots of late nights for sure. The coffee. And then also as a struggling poor student, you're like, oh, I'm hungry again. But I only already spent like $15 today for food. What can satiate my hunger for like less than $10? I remember that. Or like trying to bring your lunch. Yeah, to save money. All that
Yeah,
struggles.
unfortunately,
Then
I
you don't
bel
have a fridge.
right, yeah,
Your lunch gets warm throughout the day. So you're limited to what you can bring.
yeah. Sometimes you just stuff the leftovers in your backpack, and then 8 hours later you pull it out. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
oh, do I have to eat this? You're like, yeah, I pay for it,
I have to.
and I'm hungry. Might as well. It's
Yeah,
late. It's 1 a.m. I have to finish this project with my group, and everything else is closed. Yeah, this is just
I have no
basic
choice.
human needs. Yeah, basic
Yeah.
human needs. I just need to eat and survive. That's it. And unfortunately, I think most of the students have even a bigger struggle these days because of inflation. So we're not talking
Mhm.
about, oh, getting food under $10. We're talking about getting food under $20 now. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. I'm glad, from day one when you went into the engineering program that you had a clear vision of what you want to do. And of course, yeah, after you graduated, you found a position in the current company. So that is awesome. That's not always the case on and by itself. It's another full-time job, right? Of course, it's very cyclical, especially within Alberta and Calgary because it's energy focused, right? And dependent. So it's definitely cyclical, even for engineers. And I believe because you mentioned previously you interned at your current company, right? So that definitely helped pave the way for you to get a permanent offer at this company after graduation. Was that the path?
It was, yeah. After third year, I was accepted on a 16-month internship at Tetranex. And then in fourth year, I actually worked part-time still at Tetranex because I think my course load was like a little bit lighter, so it allowed me to. Plus, I was also thinking of I want to maintain this connection for once I graduate and
Mm-hmm.
in hopes of getting a full-time job there. Yeah, so I worked part-time for my last year at Tetranex still. And then, yeah, and then COVID hit because it was 2020 April when
Oh,
I
all right.
graduated.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was a little bit afraid that they were not going to have work for me and that they were just going to be like, sorry, it's like the times can't hire you. But luckily, I think there was that 20-hour or 10-hour a week top up from the government. You can work 30 hours, but the government would pay another 10 hours for
Right.
you. So I think Tetranex took full advantage of all of the government subsidies that
Oh, of
helped their
course.
business through COVID,
Yep.
and that helped me and a lot of other people at Tetranex keep their jobs.
That
And
must have been nerve
yeah,
wracking.
yeah, It was. Um,
Yeah, because things were day to day and there were changes and the whole world was affected. All industries and businesses were deeply impacted as well. So, yeah, as a fresh grad, you seriously did not know whether there will still be a position for you.
yeah. And I think, to be honest too, I think a side of me was like, it would be okay though if they didn't have a position for me because I just worked my butt off at school. And if I have a month or two break, like not having to do any work, I don't mind. It's good either way. So I just accepted either fate.
Now, as an adult, as a professional, do you
Mhm.
miss school? Do you miss being a student? Or do you much prefer the more scheduled and disciplined work life where, hey, yes, I go to work 8 to 10, sometimes on odd days, maybe even 12 hours, but at least when you go home, you can, okay, this is my hey, safe haven, my private time. I don't have to worry about work until the next morning. Whereas that, and from speaking from my personal experience, right? Owning a business is different, of course, but being a student, that's almost like a 24/7 as well, right? You go to
It
classes in
totally
school,
is.
but you go home, you still have all the projects and assignments, all the deadlines, final exams, midterms, all that, right? So it's 24/7. I know some young people, they prefer the student life because it's very vibrant. They can hang out with a lot of friends. It's more, they feel that there's more freedom. But for me, I feel that I get more freedom at my work life. So I don't know if you can relate to that, Amanda.
Oh, definitely. I feel like there's more freedom now as opposed to when I was a student. Because, like you said, there's always like a huge queue of quizzes, assignments, midterms, exams that are all, like looming at the back of your mind. And how to you kind of almost have to choose. Yeah, be very good with your time. Which subject do I study for right now? Which ones do I want to get higher grades in than others? Which ones and then as a student too, like, I think the intentions of a lot of the students is they want to learn these things, but to be frank, like, you don't have enough time to, like, actually soak up a lot of it, what you want to, because it's, like, on to the next unit already. Yeah, so you learn how to, like, I don't know, process information really quickly and then make room in your brain for, like, other things. And I personally don't really working that way. I like to take my time
Mm.
whenever things are, like, meaningful to me. So, that's something nice about work sometimes. It's, like, your choice of, like, how I think how dedicated you want to be at your
Yes.
job as well. Because you can spend 8 hours and be, like, in a different land for 6 hours of those 8 hours, right? And only focus 2 hours on the actual stuff, or you can choose to use, like, most of your brain power to, like, expanding and learning and following. Oh, if you don't understand this term, quickly look up this YouTube video on what it actually means so that when you read go back and you read further, like, you have a better understanding of everything. Like, I really think it's up to the person at
Mm.
the end of the day too, and the job too. The employer, like, my employer is really good and they're flexible with your like, we don't have to clock in at 9 AM and clock out
Okay.
at 5. We can come as early as we want and leave, and as long as we do our 8 hours or whatever. Some people do 9 hours Monday through Thursday and a
Oh,
half
okay.
day
All
on
right.
Friday. It's just 40-hour work weeks.
Yep. That is indeed very flexible, right? Yep.
Yeah,
Every person has a different pace of
yes,
living and other commitments outside of the workplace as well. Yeah,
exactly.
sounds like it's an amazing company. And
It's a good company.
yeah, and as you were alluding to, even on the job, learning is nonstop. right? You can definitely dive into a certain area to expand your knowledge and become more equipped. And I think that skill set can also be applied in school to a certain extent because there are deadlines and quizzes and all that, right? So you can spend waste too much time learning all about a certain area, right? You still have to follow a certain curriculum and be meeting all the project deadlines, etc., etc. Now, you mentioned about just how you learned best when you were in school, and you gave a couple of tips. What other survival tips would you give to younger people who is currently in university and they're feeling overwhelmed? Or if they are still in search of figuring out if what they are studying is the right path. Can you share some of your experiences? Because now we're going to step even further back, right? Do your first undergrad degree because you graduated from biological sciences, right? So, what were those 4 years like? And why did you move away from that area?
Oh, there's so many questions in there. Do you,
Let's talk about, I think personally, I'm more curious about your mental, psychological journey, right? Throughout the first 4 years in biological sciences and then towards maybe the last year or so when you had to start making decision on what the next step should be. And then to the point where you have decided to, okay, I'm going to graduate from this undergrad and then I'm going to apply into engineering, doing a complete shift. If you can elaborate more about that, would be awesome.
okay. I was a stress ball in biosci because I was wanting to do med school. Actually, like when I straight from high school into uni, I went into the nursing program and did that for 2 years.
Oh,
And
I did not
then,
know that. Okay.
yeah, so I did the 2.5-ish degrees. In nursing, I really found the human body like interesting.
Yeah.
Like I think bio 30 was my favorite subject, so that's why I went into nursing. Um, when I took courses and learned about it a little bit more of what my day-to-day jobs would be, I didn't imagine that I would feel like all that fulfilled personally for me. So I wanted to still do want to do something involving the human body and
Health
health.
science. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so then I don't know, the next thing was mm, like medicine and
Right.
trying to be a doctor. And then you start looking into what's all required to get accepted into med school. And you need all these extracurriculars. You need to do research, get like a paper published, be this like super well-rounded person and getting a 4.0 GPA. But yeah, I think that's why I was stressed ball during bioscience. Like I felt pulled in so many different directions while still trying to, I think the 4.0 GPA thing was like the most concrete and easily attainable and in my control thing. It really put my like head in the books and tried to get A's throughout. My mentality though has shifted so much.
Mm.
So since I was that first year, second year, post-secondary person, like I would just tell myself not to worry so much and not to like force just feel more if things feel like right for you or do you more so like the idea of it.
You were searching for your self identity during that process.
Yeah, because humans are complex, right? Like you have interests, and then there's the practical, like real world things. I don't know. I think I had a lot of interests, and you feel like time pressure. You're like, oh, I have to do this and get a job by the time I'm like 25 and have kids and get married. Like you have all these things and expectations for yourself where now I'm 32. I'm not married. I don't have kids. But looking back, I'm like, I don't think I would have been ready at 25 to have kids.
Being
I don't know. I think,
25, you're still a kid. You're
You're
still a
still
kid
a
at
kid.
25.
You are. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's good. You should try to be like as youthful and childlike as possible. But it's such a huge responsibility to bring another kid into the
I
world,
know.
right?
And it's all
And
relative, Amanda. You're a kid to me right now.
I feel like a kid sometimes. Yeah.
And that's good. You have to keep that youth, being youthful. And yeah, it's just looking back now that you're in your early 30s, looking back when you were 18, 20, 25, you're like, wow, yeah, the world is big. There's so many opportunities. And sometimes it might be wise to step outside of that traditional framework that people are expected to, just like what you said, get a degree, get a job, and then date, get married, kids. Like, yeah, that works for a lot of people, but it may not work for you or, you know, the other guy, the other girl. And you were speaking of trying to figure out who you are, what your interests are, where your heart goes when you were within biosci in those first 4 years.
Yeah. I would say, like, for people who are trying to figure out who they are, or even people who think they know who they are now, because we're always growing.
Yeah.
I wish I told my like 18-year-old self more the question of, who do you want to be?
Mm.
What kind of person do you want to be? And then work back. And like my answer to that question now is, I just want to be like a good and kind person
Okay.
with like integrity
Yes.
and being like in service to others. I think
Yes.
that's what really makes me feel like at the end of the day on my deathbed, if I followed true to that, like I would feel happy with like the rest of my life. And so, yeah, does my career choice align with that? Am I going to be harming anybody? Then would it make me feel like icky inside? Career choice. Am I, maybe I'll be making lots of money, but if it involves like hurting people along the way, like I wouldn't want to do that. I
Yeah.
also believe you can make a lot of money without harming people. So
Correct. Yeah,
I
with
don't know.
integrity and good causes, definitely. Yeah, I completely agree with you. But
Yeah, it's
what other suggestions would you give to the 18-year-old of yourself? That's the intention, right? To first of all, to ask the right question. Who do I want to be? What type of person do I want to grow up to be? But of course, knowing what you know now, you have a lot more resources and information and experience. But when you were 18 years old, perhaps you didn't have access to what you have now. What recommendation would you give to your young self? Hey, perhaps you can talk to this person and perhaps you can look into this direction to get more information. What kind of specific suggestion would you give to the young self of you and to the young people nowadays?
like I would probably recommend myself to take a year off, a gap year, to figure out and look internally a little bit more,
Okay.
because high school is similar to university and with regards of like with the whole school thing. You're just kind of caught up in that whirlwind. But if you do have a safety net where you don't have to be working and like paying the rent when you're 18, and I don't know, like you're never going to have all that time, I feel like, again, to yourself, which you don't know at that time until later. But yeah, I guess to like, but knowing that how much time I had back then would just be to be a lot more introspective. And there's so many awesome like podcasts and like, YouTube videos too to help spark those kinds of questions. But you really would have to, I really would have to take the time and be intentional and be like, okay, maybe like for an hour every day, I'm just gonna like, shut everything off and just like meditate or listen to myself and see what I'm curious about, like what guides me. And also being okay with like changes. Like what you at 18 is gonna be different from what guides you at 30. Like
Yes.
I would tell myself to not be at like put so much pressure and like expectation on myself and just work more on just like having the mentality of everything's gonna be okay. Just believe in hard work, integrity also, but like the law of least resistance. If you have to work so hard at something and like you feel like there's so much friction there, like maybe that's not the right thing for you.
Mhm.
There's probably something that's more suited for you at that time. I don't know. It sounds maybe like a little woo woo, a little not like super concrete or what you're like
No,
looking for, but
no, I
that's my
love
truth.
this. I love this. It's turned into like a therapy session. I love this. Sometimes there's a lot and there's a lot of intangibles, right, involved when making such important decisions. Yeah, a lot of like my daughters and a lot of young people, they when they're in grade 11, grade 12, of course, they'll be doing all the research about different schools and programs, and those are the tangible stuff. Oh, yeah, there are criteria, prerequisites you have to hit. It's very like right? Very solid. As a matter of fact, very tangible, but there's also the intangible side, which you were mentioning about, which is, hey, what type of person do you want to grow up to be? Does it align with your own value system?
What are those values?
Yeah, what are those values? Yeah, but at the age of 17, 18, most people, 99% of the kids do not have the answer yet, and they shouldn't be. They're still young. Things that govern their thoughts, and a lot of times there's the cultural background, limitations, all that plays a role as well. So your suggestion of taking a gap year, actually, I've learned that a lot of students are planning to do that, but it is also very scary, especially for the parents.
Yeah, because you feel like you might lose that momentum. They might
Yeah,
want to just take 2 gap years or 5, and you're like, "Oh, no.
and
What
I've
can you
met,
do?"
I know I've met some people do that, and I like to add, I guess, my 2 cents to yours. So yes, taking a gap year sometimes is very beneficial, but as you mentioned before, it has to be intentional. It has to be purposeful, and I
Yeah.
think it's also important to give yourself a timeline, like set some goals, and say to yourself, hey, I want to drag this on from 1 year to 2 years and then to forever. I want to be able to reach a decision. I need to make a decision one way or the other a year from now, 18 months from now.
Mhm.
So you set a due date for yourself, and you still have to establish a schedule, right? Now that
Mhm.
you may not have a full time job, or you might be just working part time, you definitely don't have school to attend to, but still try to set your alarm, wake up at a certain time in the morning.
Yeah.
Don't sleep in every day, right? And just be purposeful every day, right? The goal is to find yourself, find out who you are, where your interests lie, and what careers and job opportunities are out there that align with your value system.
Mhm.
Do you agree with that, Amanda?
I do. Yes. Putting deadlines are a funny thing. People seem to tend to get things done a lot more efficiently when the deadline comes nearer, and yeah, so I think that's an important thing, and then, yeah, whatever decision you make at the time, maybe you're not ready, but at least you've made a decision, you're moving forward and you're going with it,
Hmm.
just exploring that path, and then you'll know. You'll know whether it's, "Okay, I've tried it. It's working out for me," or, "I don't think it's working out for me.
And then you
Time to go
pivot.
back to the drawing board." Yeah, and pivot. That's okay. Just don't. Just try to explore
Yeah. Yep.
the
At
path.
that young age, you can explore. You
Yeah,
can take risks.
yeah,
Yeah. The margin of errors is huge when you're at 18, 20, 22. Take an extra year to accomplish your goal. At that moment in time, you might feel discouraged, and you might feel that you're falling behind because people you know of this within the same age group, they've moved on to do certain things. But in the grand scheme of things, just taking that one extra year to pursue That's the key word. You're still pursuing. Even if you are taking a gap year, you're still trying to pursue something. It is minuscule in the grand scheme of things, taking that one extra year.
Yeah,
Because,
but it
yeah,
could add so much gain to your life.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. For the young students out there, I'm not promoting to everyone to take a gap year. It works for some, it doesn't work for others. And if you're seriously thinking about this, you still have to have a very concrete plan. Yes, you don't know what the next step should be, but again, set your timeline, set some actionable items, some goals. So when you present it to your family, they're not as freaked out, right? Because some students, some young people are like, yeah, I'm just going to go up to my mom and dad and say, yeah, after graduating high school, I don't want to do anything for a year. What do you mean you don't want to do anything? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. So I'm going to take my time and think about it. That's scary. The sound of
Mhm.
that is very scary to the families, to the parents. You have to make it presentable. You have to have a plan and a timeline. So yeah, start. Okay. All right. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you so much for sharing your personal journey. I know we got a little bit into the personal side of things, but I think it's beneficial to a lot of young students as well because they're in the same boat, right? They're torn. For some students, they have very limited options, unfortunately, but for others, they have too many options. And neither of those cases, it's helpful, right?
Mhm.
They know it's a milestone that they're crossing. They also understand that it's a huge life decision. To their eyes, it's, oh, once I walk this path, there's no turning back. I cannot change any other direction. It's not true, but when you're 17, 18, that's what you feel like, right? That's why I want to share my own stories and to be able to talk to cool people like you and just to calm them down, the young people. It's like, hey, you still have a lot of road in front of you, a lot of life, and be courageous and explore. Take some risks, but it has to be purposeful and intentional.
Yes.
Okay, so
Nice. I appreciate you having me on here and asking these questions, forcing me to reflect on my past and kind
maybe,
of highlight where I
yeah,
am now.
yeah, maybe this will add some value to your ongoing journey as well and your pursuit of your career, life, and happiness.
Mhm.
Sometimes we just need to take a moment and definitely reflect on, hey, who am I? And we continuously grow as human being, right? Who do I want to be in the next phase of my life? Now that we're older, I'm much older than you, Amanda. So we're in different stages right now, but I'm right now doing a little bit more self-reflection than the 32-year-old of me many years ago.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, just chatting up with people like you. This is actually a therapy session to me as well. So thank you, Amanda. Now, before we go, normally I would ask my guest to nominate 1 to 3 people whom I can interview in my future podcast. So I'm just wondering if you have anyone in mind.
Oh, yeah. I definitely have one girl in mind. She's one of my best friends. I met her in grade 6. Uh, Her
Wow.
name is Jessica Lau,
Okay.
and she is mm, she's an entrepreneur now, I would say. But she took the conventional route of going to university, getting a marketing degree, and she worked for a full-time job. But now she is self-employed and she's doing great. And she's just built her dream life and is living it. And I'm just so proud of her. So I think a lot of young kids would learn something from her story.
That would
And
be awesome. Yes.
yeah, I'll give you that. She's the person who like pops out in my mind. I don't know if I can give you like 3 right now, but I can give you that one.
Sure. Yeah. We'll touch base afterwards and I'll get that contact information from you. Definitely. And meanwhile, if you think of anyone else, yeah, feel free to share with me as well.
Sure. Sounds good.
Cool. Thank you again for your time today, Amanda. We'll wrap this up. And I guess I will see everyone else the next time.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Ambrose. And if I think of the other two, I'll let you know.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Amanda. You have a great day.
Thanks. You
All
too,
right.
Ambrose.
Thanks. Bye
Bye.
bye.